If you have stubborn belly fat that does not respond to diet changes and you have heard that your liver might be the problem, you are not wrong to investigate that connection. The relationship between fatty liver disease and visceral abdominal fat is real and clinically important. But there is also a lot of misleading content about this topic online. Tonics that claim to empty your fatty liver in 60 seconds, supplements that promise to release fat your body has been holding hostage, and recipes designed more to sell products than to inform patients. Today I want to give you the honest clinical picture. What fatty liver actually is, how it genuinely connects to visceral fat and metabolic health, what the science says about bitter compounds and bile flow, because there is something real there, even if it is exaggerated by supplement sellers, and what the 3 evidence-supported interventions are that actually reverse fatty liver over time. I will also cover something that no competitor on this topic ever mentions. As a urologist, I can tell you that fatty liver disease has a direct and clinically significant relationship with kidney health and urinary function, and understanding that connection changes how seriously you should take this condition. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Kavaler. I am a board-certified urologist and urogynecologist with over 20 years of clinical practice. Metabolic health, including liver function and its downstream effects on the kidneys and urinary system, is directly relevant to my specialty. What I share today is based on published research from the Journal of Hepatology, the New England Journal of Medicine, and clinical guidance from the American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is the accumulation of fat within liver cells, called hepatocytes, in people who drink little or no alcohol. It is now the most common chronic liver condition worldwide, affecting an estimated 25% of adults globally, according to research published in the Journal of Hepatology. A liver with significant fat accumulation does not process fat efficiently. Normally, the liver is a central clearinghouse for fat metabolism. It receives fatty acids from the bloodstream, packages them into lipoproteins for distribution, and oxidizes excess fat for energy. When the liver cells themselves are clogged with fat, this processing capacity is impaired. The relationship with visceral fat, the abdominal fat that surrounds internal organs, is bidirectional. Excess visceral fat releases fatty acids and inflammatory signals directly into the portal vein, which drains into the liver. This continuous fat delivery drives further fat accumulation in the liver. And an impaired, fatty liver contributes to insulin resistance, which makes further visceral fat accumulation easier. It is a reinforcing cycle, not a simple one-directional cause. This is the kernel of truth inside the competitor's claim. The liver connection to belly fat is real, but a 60-second tonic does not break that cycle. Sustained metabolic change does. Now let me address the part of the competitor's claim that actually has scientific support, because dismissing it entirely would be dishonest. Bitter compounds in plants, including those found in dandelion root, apple cider vinegar, artichoke leaf, and gentian, stimulate bile production and secretion through a mechanism called the cholagogue effect. They activate bitter taste receptors in the gut lining that signal the gallbladder to contract and the liver to increase bile output. Bile is genuinely important for fat metabolism. It is the digestive fluid that emulsifies dietary fat in the small intestine, making it accessible to lipase enzymes for breakdown and absorption. Better bile flow supports more efficient fat digestion, not fat loss from existing fat stores, but more efficient processing of dietary fat. A 2016 review published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine documented the cholagogue properties of dandelion root and its ability to stimulate bile secretion measurably in animal models. Human clinical data on dandelion specifically for fat metabolism is limited, but the bile stimulation mechanism itself is pharmacologically real. Apple cider vinegar, the most commonly promoted ingredient in these tonics, has been studied in small human trials for its effect on blood glucose and insulin sensitivity. A 2018 study in the Journal of Functional Foods found modest reductions in fasting blood glucose with consistent daily use. The mechanism is acetic acid's ability to inhibit alpha-glucosidase, slowing glucose absorption in the gut. This is a real but modest metabolic effect. The honest clinical assessment is this: bitter morning drinks that include dandelion root, apple cider vinegar, or lemon juice in warm water can support bile flow and modestly improve glucose metabolism as part of a broader dietary approach.
They do not empty a fatty liver. They do not release stored visceral fat directly, but they are not useless either. The issue is that they are being sold as the solution when they are, at best, a minor supporting element.
Here's what the published research actually supports for reversing NAFLD and reducing visceral fat. Intervention 1. Caloric deficit with reduced refined carbohydrate and sugar intake. Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine and multiple systematic reviews has consistently shown that a caloric deficit of 500 to 750 calories per day, sustained over 12 to 24 weeks, produces clinically significant reductions in liver fat, measurable on ultrasound, in the majority of patients with NAFLD. The composition matters. Diets that reduce refined carbohydrates and added sugar produce faster liver fat reduction than equivalent caloric deficits from fat restriction. This is because fructose and excess glucose are preferentially converted to liver fat through de novo lipogenesis. Intervention 2.
Regular moderate intensity aerobic exercise. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Hepatology found that 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic exercise, brisk walking, cycling, or swimming, reduced liver fat content measurably and independently of weight loss. The mechanism is direct hepatic fat oxidation triggered by muscular demand for energy substrate. Exercise does what no tonic can. It creates a metabolic demand that draws on liver fat stores directly. Intervention 3. Time-restricted eating. Research from the Salk Institute and multiple clinical trials has found that limiting food intake to an 8 to 10 hour window each day, without necessarily changing what is eaten, reduces liver fat, improves insulin sensitivity, and reduces visceral fat accumulation. The mechanism involves circadian regulation of hepatic fat metabolism and extended overnight fasting periods that allow the liver to process and oxidize accumulated fat. These 3 interventions have clinical trial evidence behind them. A bitter morning tonic does not. Used alongside these 3, it may contribute modestly to bile flow and glucose management. As a replacement for them, it does nothing meaningful for fatty liver.
As a urologist, I want to explain why fatty liver is not just a metabolic concern, it is a urological and kidney health concern. Multiple studies have established a strong, independent association between NAFLD and chronic kidney disease. A meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases found that adults with NAFLD had a 37% higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease compared to those without NAFLD, independent of diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. The mechanisms are multiple. NAFLD drives systemic inflammation and oxidative stress that directly damages the kidney's filtration units. Insulin resistance associated with NAFLD increases intraglomerular pressure, accelerating kidney function decline. And NAFLD is independently associated with a higher risk of kidney stone formation because it disrupts uric acid metabolism and increases urinary oxalate excretion. For my patients, this means that fatty liver is not just something to address for your waistline or your blood tests. It is something to address for your kidneys. And the interventions that reverse fatty liver, caloric restriction, exercise, time-restricted eating, are the same interventions that protect kidney function long-term. If you want to make a morning drink that genuinely supports bile flow and modestly improves glucose metabolism, here is a version grounded in the real pharmacology rather than supplement sales. Add 1 tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar to 200 milliliters of warm water. Squeeze in the juice of half a lemon. Add 1 dandelion root tea bag steeped for 5 minutes. Optionally, add a small pinch of ginger for its additional cholagogue and anti-inflammatory properties. Drink this 20 to 30 minutes before your first meal. The fasted state maximizes bile secretion response and glucose management effect from the acetic acid. This drink costs under £1 per serving. It takes 2 minutes, and within the context of a caloric deficit, reduced refined carbohydrate intake, and regular exercise, it is a sensible addition. On its own, without those foundational changes, it will not empty your fatty liver.
Nothing will in 60 seconds, but combined with the interventions that actually work, it is a reasonable, low-cost, evidence-informed morning habit.
Fatty liver is a reversible condition in most adults when caught and addressed early. The evidence for reversing it is strong, practical, and does not require expensive supplements. Reduce refined carbohydrates and added sugar. Create a modest caloric deficit. Exercise for 150 minutes a week. Consider time-restricted eating. And if you want, add a bitter morning drink as a small supporting element, knowing what it actually does and does not do. That is the honest protocol. It is less dramatic than a $4 tonic that empties your liver in 60 seconds, but it is what works. I am Dr. Elizabeth Kavaler. I will see you in the next video.